I've said it before and I will say it again. If you vibe code a product that looks like poop, then poop ye shall receive. And then you'll stand by and watch as all of your hard work is flushed down the toilet. But enough potty talk. What I mean is that professional designs do two things. Number one, they pass subconscious authority signals to the user. Number two, they make the user feel the way you want them to feel. And sadly, we can't just prompt our LLM with, hey, please build me beautiful professional design fast, please. Okay, thanks, bye. Because we'll just get the same old vanilla looking thing that everybody else gets. So in this video, I want to break down my top 4 tips and resources for vibe coders that want to get better at designing their apps. And so this video is going to be great for you if you're already vibe coding to some extent, but you're not exactly thrilled with what your outputs end up actually looking like. And so I'm going to talk about each of these tips or resources, what it is, where you can find it, and how to actually use it in your project. So if you want to stand atop the mountain, a god among mere mortals, SaaS vibe lord extraordinaire, well, then you'd better dedicate some time to becoming great. And so my hope is that some of these resources help you on that journey. So let's get into them. One of the biggest challenges vibe coders face is creating UIs or user experiences that actually look professional. And the reason for that is actually pretty simple. You don't know what you don't know on the design side, and you don't know what you don't know on the development side. So developing a beautiful UI is kind of a double whammy. And so in steps a tool like React Bits. So in a few of my more recent videos, I've showed you guys a few UI design tools that were paid, and you guys were asking for some free options, and React Bits is a free option. It's a component library that focuses on crafting UIs that are a bit more expressive and creative than the standard things you would get out of an LLM or out of your work with Cursor, right? If I was to just go tell Cursor, hey, make me an interesting headline with a text animation, I'm not gonna get all of these really cool options like the ones I have here. And again, the nice thing, it is free. It has 13.4 thousand stars on GitHub, actively maintained. It is a great resource for vibe coders looking to level up design. Now, if you want to get started with it in your project, it's pretty easy. So let's say that this, I don't know, pixel trail animation, I actually don't like that. Let's say that this animated list, that's actually pretty cool. Let's say this is the one we wanted to use in our project. Well, all we need to do is go over to this CLI option, and it is going to give us a full setup of this specific component inside of our project. And so all we need to do is go into our terminal, copy these commands, paste them in, and we are good to go. Now, a library like this, in my opinion, is going to be especially helpful on landing pages and marketing pages for your apps. And at the end of the day, the best app, the best functionality in the world doesn't really matter if you can't get people to actually click on it and download it. So make sure that your landing pages and your marketing collateral are super locked in, and a great design that engages people is a step toward doing that. Next up, something that I think is very underutilized, especially for myself, is remixing professionally done designs using tools like V0, 21st Dev, Lovable, and a new tool that I'm going to show you in a second I found called Aura. So Aura is kind of like a designer-focused Lovable, but it's not really meant for creating functional apps. It's meant to design stuff that looks great. So even this one that we're looking at here, right, is a basic sign-in form, but we can see there's a lot of detail in it, like how my mouse moves over and it kind of creates this effect in the backdrop, right? So these little details of the design. Now, one of the things that I really like about this tool, Aura, is that it has a lot more focus than I'm used to seeing on mobile. So I like to develop a lot of mobile apps in my vibe coding adventures. And Aura tends to house a lot of inspiration for mobile apps specifically. And so let's say, for example, I came in here and I really just loved how this looks, right? Even this, something as simple as the login screen, it looks super professional. And let's say that I wanted to actually use this. Well, what I can do is I can come back out to the dashboard and I can click this option to remix. And it's going to ask you to sign in. And so once we've clicked on that, it has this base prompt here where it says adapt from, this source. And then we can give specific instructions. So I could say like, make this for my foodie app where people take photos from restaurants they are at, and an AI turns it into a restaurant quality meal, right? So I can go through and I can just remix that. And then we get into this UI that we would have like in any other kind of browser-based generative coding, vibe coding type of app. So that is one option we have, but you can also just go through here, and if you like what one of these designs looks like, you could just copy the code directly. We can copy that code directly and just put it in our app, right? So an example might be maybe this one. Say I really like this. I actually do really like that background. I think that's pretty cool, and I wanted to use it in my project. I could just come down and get the code and just port that over directly into my project. And so we have that same functionality, obviously, inside of a few other tools. So 21st Dev has similar functionality, and so does V0 from Vercel, where we can explore what the community has created, and then if there's something that we really like, we can just immediately open that, and then we can start making changes to it for our own purposes. So the way that I like to approach this conceptually is that there's a lot of really talented people out there, a lot of really talented designers that have spent decades honing in on this skill set, and we get to remix their work, right? We get to take that as inspiration and say, take that idea and now go do it in this specific way. So the way that I like to approach these things are that there are a lot of really talented people, right? Really talented product designers that have spent decades perfecting this skill set, and we now get to benefit from their work. And I think that's pretty awesome. So we can just take the things that they have done and now apply it to something that is specific to us, using that as inspiration. So when in doubt, remix something that already looks pretty cool. Now, both of those first two resources or tips are pretty cool stuff. Libraries of pre-configured components that are free, that are pretty cool, and design-focused vibe coding / vibe designing tools where we can remix what other people have done. But then what happens when you want to like really integrate a design-oriented system into your actual development workflows? And you don't want to have to keep popping in and out and going back to other tools and doing all this stuff. Well, you have two really solid, pretty concrete options. Number one, you can use a generative AI tool to actually create designs for you, which you can pump into Figma and then use the Figma MCP to pull them directly into your app. Meaning you can use a tool like Claude or Windsurf or RuCode or C-Line or whatever to go back and forth updating the work with actual designs. Now, I'm not a designer by trade, so that is not the workflow that I use. So option number two is that you use a tool like 21st.dev's Magic MCP to create components on the fly in your app based on their component libraries and your design system. And the way you do that is pretty simple. So you can go into 21st.dev and then go over to Magic MCP. So if we click on that, it's going to bring you to a sign up for the thing screen. You can go through and click Get Started. Tell it what your IDE is, and then you are off to the races. All you need to do is install that MCP inside of Cursor, inside of Windsurf, inside of whatever IDE you're using, and you can generate now components on the fly that actually look good. And bonus points if you provide a style guide to the system so that it follows your actual design guidelines and considerations. And now if you want to get a sense of what those components might actually look like if you started using them in your project, they did just come out with this magic chat so that you can come in here and you can start actually creating components. So I could say, create me a mobile first Tinder-like swiping interface. Now, the thing that is cool about how they do this is that we get a bunch of different variants, right? So we gave that one prompt. We actually got 6 different variants of what this thing could look like. If I was to actually toggle this into a mobile view, we can see it's obviously not great at making like app design, right? This isn't really good for mobile design, in my opinion, right? But we can start to see like what this might look like. And then if we actually liked one of these, we could just take the code directly, or we could start getting variations on this theme by chatting with the variant. Now, resource or tip number 4 is using inspiration, but more specifically, where to source that inspiration from. So whenever I am prompting a language model to write code for me and I want it to look a specific way, or I want to start developing a style guide maybe that I'm going to pass into the app, there's a few websites that I love to use in that exploration phase. Now, the first one, and by far my favorite, is Mobbin. And so Mobbin is dope because it goes through and it actually captures entire screens and workflows from hundreds of different like enterprise level apps. So they have B2B apps, they have B2C apps, they've got tons of stuff, right? They have Postmates, they've got Twitch on here, they've got Instacart, they have Spotify, tons and tons and tons and tons of different apps. And so the way that I like to think about this, it's more about the aesthetic, right? I'm looking more for the aesthetic of the thing. So just to give you an example, like when I'm looking at this Grok app right here, I have this idea for an app right now that I'm working on that it's not a chat app, right? It's nothing like Grok, but I like how this presents itself visually, right? I like the styling of the app. I like the spacing. I like the typography. I like how clean it looks. I like how the profile settings work. I like how this looks. And so I would love to like mimic something like this. And so what I would do if I was going to actually go like pass this to Cursor or pass it to maybe Claude directly to create a app style guide for myself is I would actually go download all of these screens and have it build me an app style guide based on that. And then I could take that and I could build Tailwind classes and things like that so that I have that now set in stone. Now, one other app that I've been looking at lately for inspiration is kind of similar. It's called Dribbble. Dribble's probably been around for a longer time, I would imagine. I found Dribbble first in my life a long time ago. I came across Mobbin when I started getting into vibe coding more seriously. I'm not sure actually which one came first. I do like Mobbin better, but Dribbble kind of has a similar thing going for it. And so again, we can come through and we can start exploring different designs. So I could come through here, I could say, hey, I want to go to explore, product design, and then I can start looking through these again, just like we did in Mobbin, and see if anything actually jumps out at us. Now, here's the thing. Dribbble, I think, is free. Mobbin has a free plan and a paid plan. I'm on the paid plan because I want to be able to see all of the screens. So if you were to choose one of these to go with, I would probably go with Mobbin. But either way, you should be using at least one of these tools to really get your inspirations for your app. And so again, a concrete workflow there is that I would come through and I would actually download some of these. So 1, 2, let's get like 5 of them maybe. 3, boom, this one, and this one. Okay, so I would download these. And then I would go into wherever I'm doing my actual planning for like user stories and all of this type of stuff. And then I would come in and I would actually upload those files. And so then when it comes time to actually do the style guide, we could say, create me a style guide for the above app based on the aesthetics, spacing, etc. of the images below. And what I would do is I would actually take like a fully fledged, and we can actually go pull that right now just so I can show you what that would look like. Okay, so I would take like a proper style guide like this, okay? Go all the way down, and then I would say, here's an example style guide for your formatting from another app, okay? And I'm just gonna tell it attached. And then I'm gonna let it go through and actually generate that style guide, okay? And we can see how it's going through and it's taking all of those aesthetics, but it is building it out for my specific app, right? And so we can see that when we start getting down here, that it's building out the different styling for different components that we're gonna be having in our app. So the swipe card, here's kind of what it should look like. The different action buttons, here's what they should look like, and so on. So guys, that's it for this video. Design is a critical part of creating products that people are going to actually want to pay you for. So don't let it be an afterthought. And so if you want to see videos where we prompt LLMs for design before we actually code, check out the other videos on my channel or some of the free guides in the school group linked below. But yeah, that's it for this video. Peace out.